everybody, and welcome to Face It and Fix It. I'm Joanne Haigh. It's available right now live on CBC TV 8. Get in front of your television sets. And those of you who are on social media, you can catch us on Facebook and YouTube. Today we're going to have a fantastic show. Anytime we have a lawyer on, we always get people near the phone lines and on their WhatsApp messages. They always have questions to ask how they can fix some of their legal problems. So we are going to have our attorney at law, Mr. Mark Forde, on today later on in the show. We also have blood awareness, donation blood awareness day tomorrow. And we will be speaking with Wendy Lord. She is the senior blood collection technician at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And she's going to let us know a little bit about what they do there and what we can do to help. But before we break and we introduce our guests, I have a couple of things that I want to share that's on my mind. Yesterday, the Ministry of People's Empowerment and Elder Affairs, they marked the start of, or should I say they recognized Elder Abuse Day on Sunday with the church service. That day is recognized on June 15th, which is on Wednesday. Now, I have had a couple of shows before talking about elder abuse. It's something that I feel very passionate about. And elder abuse is not only about people physically hitting an elder person, an older person, a senior person. That's part of it. There's so many different types of elder abuse. And one that comes to mind is when a person gets old and the children either don't visit them at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, or they leave them there, or the children have benefited from mom and dad over the years, and when it's time for mom or dad or granny to get help, the children disappear. But yet, they're all waiting in line for whatever mom and dad left in a will, or for the Succession Act to kick in. That is a form of abuse. If you leave your parents at home, not giving them attention, it is a problem, because mom may not be able to move around. Mom may need someone to go to the shop for her. Mom may need somebody to cook for her. Mom may need somebody to change her. And then the children don't visit. Now, I am myself going through a situation with my mom where we all have to get together and make sure that she's okay. She's 80, and I want to say good morning to her because I know she's watching the show. But what about those persons who don't have big families? But worse yet, when you come out of a big family and the responsibility then lies on one child. So many times I've heard stories of people saying they've had their parent to look after, and they did it by themselves. They had no help. People ask them, so where are the children? People say, well, I don't know. They don't come around. I just think that it is unconscionable. And if you're watching this show right now and you happen to be one of those persons who are ignoring your mom or your dad and they need your help, I'm praying to God that you make a better choice. It is not something that you would want for yourself. You also have to think that if God blesses you with longevity, which means a long life, and you will get ailments, let's face it, the older you get, the pains will start, you'll start to slow down, and you will need some help. How would you feel if the children that you brought into this world ignored you? Or every time you called, somebody is busy, or somebody wants payment for something that you want them to do? That is another classic. I have heard stories of people saying that the parents, neighbors complaining about other people's children, saying that imagine the old girl just getting her pension check. Any children coming around to get the pension check because they want gas money. They want money then to buy food for themselves and not spend it on their mother or their grandmother or grandfather. This is happening in Barbados. There are people who pretend to be a family member visiting the house, or the person has dementia, so they know that, so they may visit the house and they take advantage of granny or the grandfather. Now, the children are nowhere around when this happens. I heard of a situation only this morning on the news where somebody took a person to the bank, person had dementia, and the person was not a family member. That in itself is a problem, and I'm hoping as we move towards getting the laws and the policies put in place for elder abuse, part of that would be a person who is over a certain age, maybe 70, when they go to the bank and they see somebody there, that person has to show proof that they are authorized to assist that person to conduct their financial affairs, because that person could be being escorted by saying, look, I'm here to take off $300, and the person next to them ain't family. So the person ends up giving them their paycheck. We also have to look at the fact too that when people are older, in cases with men, young girls, younger women come around and make sure that they have the access to the pension. And similarly, let's be fair, it can happen to older women where younger guys come around and they take advantage of the elderly. I don't know why people do what they do sometimes. It boggles my mind, and even over the weekend, thinking about the elderly, even seeing my mother, and all I'm saying is, dear Lord, I have 2 children, one that is challenged and one that is not. I'm praying to God that they don't leave me by the wayside for somebody else to look after me, because it's not a good feeling. So we do have a call. We're going to take this call quickly before we go to break. And I hope to God that you really think of your parents and your grandparents as they get old. Please don't leave them alone. Help them. Good morning. Face it and fix it. You are on the air.
Peace be unto you and yours, Miss Haigh.
Good morning.
To the staff there and to all listeners. You all
Caller?
stay safe. Hello, you
Can't
can hear me?
you. Hello.
Yeah, you can hear me?
All right. Well, let's see if we can get that call back on.
Hello?
Because I'm not hearing the person, and I believe that we'll try that again. We're also going to look at during the session with the lawyer. We know that he's going to talk about land and legal rights. We also have questions that came in for him the last time he was here. So because the response was overwhelming, we invited him back so that he can answer some of these questions. Not everybody can afford a lawyer to fix some of their problems, and attorney at law Mark Forde has graciously accepted us to give of his time rather, to the public to answer some of these questions. Now we're going to take a quick break, but let me just remind you, call us 228-5563 or 228-5562. If you want to send us a WhatsApp message, it's 228-5562. Follow us on Facebook by typing in CBC Barbados. You can leave your comments there, and of course we are on YouTube. When we come back, we will be talking to our guest, Wendy Lord. As I said, she is a senior blood collection technician and, of course, attorney at law, Mark Forde, when we come back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It on social media. I just want the public to be aware that Gemma Brathwaite, Gemma was a guest on our show. She has twin girls who have microcephaly, and we know that there's a shortage of baby formula in the States, but I believe that she is looking for Pedialyte, I believe it is. I just want the producer to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that she's made an appeal for some Pedialyte for her twin girls. I mean, they're not so much babies anymore, but again, if you remember the show that we had on microcephaly, we know that it is a major challenge for her as the twins continue to develop, that the development of the twins is somewhat delayed. And I saw her on Facebook expressing how frustrated she is as a parent and people not helping her. And I believe that she deserves some help. It's not her fault that her babies were born with microcephaly. And again, you know, I'm hoping that people would have a heart and reach out. You can reach out to me if you like through the show. If you want to donate some Pedialyte for her twin girls, you can certainly do it here on the show. And speaking about donations, okay, before I go on to the other donations, let me take this call. Good morning, Face It and Fix It. You're on the air.
Peace be unto you and yours. Can you hear me now?
Good morning.
Yes, peace be unto you.
Not hearing that caller as yet.
Hello?
Good.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello?
Okay, ma'am, if you can hear, just say what you have to say, because we can hear you. If you're not hearing us that well, I hope you can hear me well enough to make your comment.
Everyone, stay safe, everyone. I'm calling about the elderly.
All right, I don't believe that she's being heard out there because
Hello?
I'm not hearing her in my ears. So let's move on until we get back the callers on the line. Speaking of donations, last show we talked about getting some blood pressure machines in. I personally had called some pharmacies, and again, let me thank Total Care Pharmacy and also Othniel Best. I don't remember the name of Othniel's pharmacy, but it is in town, and they're donating some blood pressure machines. We want to give out a few because we want to assist with Measurement Month, which was in May and has been extended now to August 31st. As we heard Dr. Connell during his discussion here with us on Face It and Fix It, the blood pressure and not having controlled pressure causes a lot of problems leading towards NCDs. So what we do on Face It and Fix It, we help with fixing the problem. So we want to donate a few machines, and I've also added that if you have a machine, or should I say two, and I'll explain to you why you may end up with two machines. Someone in the family, like a grandmother, might have had a machine and passed away, and they had a machine and you also have one at home. You may want to donate that too. So give me a call on 836-4629 outside of the show, but if you're calling during the show to do that, 228-5563 or 228-5562. I do believe that we have Wendy Lord on standby to talk about donation of blood. Tomorrow is World Blood Donation Day, and as you know, the hospital always makes appeals for blood at the bank. Blood in, blood out, doesn't matter if they need a person needing surgery, it doesn't matter. You just need to go and they store the blood. But to tell us a little bit more about how that works and how we, the public, can help fix some of their problems, I want to welcome Wendy Lord, Senior Blood Collection Technician. Wendy, good morning. Good morning, Wendy. There you are.
Good morning.
How are you, Wendy?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Not too bad. So tomorrow is blood donation, is a blood awareness.
Tomorrow is World Blood Donors Day.
World Blood Donors Day. Okay, and every day is Blood Donation Day for you there at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
Right. Every day is blood donating day for us, but the world celebrates World Blood Donors Day on the 14th of June every year.
So let me
So
ask.
this year we want to, Mhm.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. This year.
This year we want to encourage persons who have never given blood to give blood. Tomorrow we have set aside the day, so you'll be just giving voluntary donations. So somebody coming to give for your mother or father or any particular person tomorrow, just to give to the bank.
So let me ask you a question. If I want to give blood for a specific person, like a family member, is my blood used for that specific person or no? Can I request
Blood
that?
is given as a replacement donation, because you can well imagine that you need to be the person's blood type if you're going to give blood to them, as well as there are other little intricacies in the blood that we do testing for. So normally it's just a replacement donation. However, you may have mother to baby that may be a directed donation.
You can,
We
okay.
also have an autologous donation where you may be having surgery and you are allowed to give blood for yourself.
Right, that's the one I want to ask, because I've got a lot of friends whose faith is that of the Jehovah Witness faith. And good morning to them. I am not a Jehovah Witness, but I got my Jehovah Witness friends, and I know for a fact that they don't take blood, but they themselves can request their own blood. As you said, that they have surgery, or could you like say, you know what, in case something goes wrong with me later on in life, can I give that blood, store it, to give it back to me if I need it? Does that work at the hospital?
Unfortunately, blood only lasts 35 days.
Oh.
So you cannot do that. There are parts of the blood, for example, the plasma that can be stored for up to a year, but blood itself only lasts 35 days. So you can't store it.
But if you know you're having a surgery in 2 weeks and you're prepping for surgery, you can request, I'm going to give my own blood because I want this blood back in me if needed. You can do that.
Yes, you can speak with your physician, and as long as your blood count is good and he thinks that you're capable of giving the blood for yourself, he would send a letter to us, and we will take the blood, you sign the bag, so we know that it is your blood, we label it for you. As long as you have 5 to 7 days free before your surgery, you're eligible to give that blood.
So who needs blood? Give us an idea when you ask and make these appeals, who exactly falls under the category of urgent?
Well, you have persons that, as you said before having surgery, you have persons that are bleeding, you have the gunshot wounds, you have persons that be treated with chemotherapy, we have hemophiliacs, we have a whole list of persons that will need blood. Some newborns with certain conditions would also need blood.
All right, so these are the persons who need blood, but what about the persons who donate? Who is eligible to donate blood? And what is the cutoff age for that as well?
As long as you're between 18 to 70 years old, you're eligible to give blood once you're in good health.
Okay, and so pregnant women, I mean, there's some people who may be eliminated in that category. If you're not feeling well that morning, do you go and still say, look, I'm going to try my best to give this blood?
If you're not feeling well or you have the sniffles or anything like that, we prefer you not to come. We go through an interview process. If you're pregnant, you cannot give blood. If you have sickle cell or a sickle cell trait, you cannot give blood. If you're diabetic on insulin, you cannot give blood.
You can.
If you had cancer, you cannot give blood, but other than that, you're able to give blood.
Well, at the
after you do an interview process.
At the rate of the NCDs, that would probably make it for a third of the population if you're saying diabetes and different issues, but not necessarily a third,
No,
but
but if
almost
you're
a third.
diabetic, If you're diabetic and you're using oral medication, you can give blood. It's just insulin.
Oh, okay.
If you have
So,
high blood pressure, we take your blood pressure before we start. Once it's normal, we will take the blood. You're encouraged to take your blood pressure medication even when you're coming to give blood.
and what is the space of time that I can give? I have to wait in between from what time to what time? So if I give blood today, can I go back next week?
You can only go back next week if you had a protocol from the doctor where you're giving blood every week for the next 2 or 3 weeks for your surgery. But other than that, 2 to 3 months is the space between giving blood.
So has the question is, do people get paid for this donation? I mean, when I say it's a donation, but there in some countries, people actually pay people to come and build up their blood banks. Is that a practice in
No, we do not.
Barbados?
No, we do not practice that in Barbados.
Okay, so
But what we want to do though is to educate persons more so that they'll be willing to come and give voluntarily, even without being paid.
all right, so let's talk about some of the screening because people may be concerned. Let's talk about COVID in a COVID environment. How does that work if a person is positive? Are they tested for COVID before they do the donation? Now that we are in this pandemic?
No, but what we do, we have a COVID screening form. If you had COVID, you are deferred for the next 3 months. So 3 months post-COVID, you can give blood. 7 days post-vaccination with the Pfizer or with the Pfizer vaccine, you can give blood. With the sign-up form, that's about 3 weeks after. The
Okay.
AstraZeneca is also 7 days post-AstraZeneca.
So there's no concern of COVID really per se. It's safe.
It's safe. Once you have you answer the questions correctly and you wait the appropriate time, it's not a real concern. If you
Okay.
had a normal flu, we normally defer you a cold or flu, we defer you for 2 weeks.
So what about the people who may feel a little faint while you're doing it? Do you stop or do you give them something to drink or is it a normal feeling to feel faint during that process?
It's not a normal feeling to be faint during the process, but we do have persons that feel a little faint. If you faint, you will stop the donation. If you feel faint after the donation, then we'll put measures in place to help you to feel better. And yes, after donation, we normally give you something to drink.
Oh, okay, I see. So like after surgery, and you know there are restrictions, are there any restrictions after you've given blood like for 24 hours?
Yes. After giving blood, we encourage persons to increase their fluid intake, no alcoholic beverages for the next 6 hours. We advise them not to lift anything heavy with the arm. And so some persons that love the gym, we prefer them not to go to the gym that day.
Okay, because I know of some people who we call small veins. How difficult is it when you're looking for a vein and people are there? Could you spend like almost 20 minutes trying to find one? Is that a problem that you find happening?
No, we don't find. If you have a small vein, it means you have a small vein. So we will not keep you not even 5 minutes trying to search, because even in that process of searching, persons get very anxious. So we're able to detect early if your vein is too small to give the blood, and we do not have many of those persons. Because we have persons come in and say that their veins are small, but that is really not true.
It's not true. So there's not a particular needle you have to use when the veins are small because...
All the needles are attached to the bag, so we can't interchange. So it's one needle. All needles are attached to the bag, so we can't look for a butterfly or something like that.
Oh, okay. I see. So people don't sort of like when they come forward and freak out or anything like that and walk out and say, I don't want to do this anymore. You don't normally get that happening, do you?
We don't normally get that because we are trained to try to to talk to them and get them calm. And normally after you have a person come in and say, I'm really frightened the needles and all that, by the time we stick them, they're like, this is all it is, I'll be back. So we find that we don't have person freaking out really.
And for those who are concerned about the testing of the blood, what exactly do you test for? And all the blood is screened, obviously, but to reassure Barbadians, people who may be listening to you right now that may be a little hesitant about this process, what exactly do you test for?
Okay, so coming into the blood collecting center, as I said before, you'll be questioned, then we'll do something called the packed cell volume, which gives us an idea what your hemoglobin is so that we can take blood from you. When the blood is taken, then it goes over to the lab and they will do all the infectious diseases like hepatitis B and C. You have HIV, you have syphilis. So all those diseases like that we test for so that we do not, all of our blood supposed to be safe as we transfuse persons.
Okay, and if you had to ask or request now for blood, what, if you know, I'm not sure if you may know this off the top of your head, what are some of the groups that you need urgently, that you find that you don't get enough of? What is rare in terms of collection?
Rare is, as it states in the grouping, where the negatives are usually low because they are obviously rare. So for negative, B negative, B neg, you will find that those persons are low. I think we were recently asking for some B positive.
I see. So what is the most common of all the groups that you normally get? A positive?
O positive is the most common in the
positive.
world and is the most common that you find persons giving. O positive.
Now, I can tell you this, there are a lot of Barbadians right now, I'm pretty much sure if you ask them their blood type, they don't know. How can you go about getting this done, process first? Because I think it's important, and at what age should you at least know? Because this is not a standard procedure, I think, at birth.
It's not standard at birth, but you can get your blood done at your private doctor. You can even get it at the polyclinic. However, anytime you give blood, your blood type is available to you.
All right, so anytime.
Also, if you don't want to pay to get that, then you can give your blood and you will get your blood type. We'll give it to you on a card that you can travel with wherever you go.
All right, so what do you wish to achieve now tomorrow on this special day? Because I know you ask for blood every day, but tomorrow what would you like to see happening to create the awareness from Barbadians?
So on this special day today, tomorrow, after we have this conversation and other conversations maybe in the other media, we would like to see our young persons coming out because obviously they're the ones that will carry on this thing. And because it is voluntary, we just want you to come and give. We have an interesting and exciting day planned for you tomorrow. Something that normally doesn't happen in blood collection center. We here know that it's going to be a very difficult day for us in terms of long time on our feet. But we are willing, if you are willing to give blood, we are willing to go the extra mile so that the persons of Barbados who are in need of blood can benefit from your donations tomorrow.
Fantastic. So I want to echo that call for all Barbadians. If you are eligible, please give blood. Don't wait until something happens and people are just asking for it on Facebook, because that happens. You see people asking for a particular person that they desperately need blood. And for the Jehovah's Witnesses, people who do not accept blood donations but their own, there are situations, from what Wendy is saying, that if you know you're going to have a surgery, you can give your blood and to get the blood back into your body if needed for that surgery. So there's no need for Jehovah's Witnesses now to feel that they can't. They can do it for themselves. All other persons who do not share those beliefs and you're eligible, I am sharing these sentiments with Wendy and the entire QEH hospital. People need some help. Go down there. You're young, you're able, you're willing. Give blood today. Wendy, I want to thank you. I'm going to leave you with final words before we go. Last words in a minute or so.
Thanks for having me also, Joanne. And We want to say thanks to all you listening and looking forward to seeing all of you, or many of you, to give blood today. Tomorrow is not limited. Tomorrow, however, we'll welcome you any day, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 2:30, and on Saturday, 8:30 to 11:30.
Where exactly do we go? Where exactly? Just tell us, where do we go?
National Blood Collecting Center is located on Jemmons Lane, where a strategic point is next to the Winston Scott Polyclinic gate. Our building is painted in blue and the sign says National Blood Collecting Center.
And is there a telephone number in case they have any questions, follow-up questions after this show?
Yes, we have two numbers, 836-7993 or 536-3792.
Okay, 836-7933? 93?
7993.
Okay, so let's repeat that again, 836-7993 or 536-3792.
Or you can also call the hospital number, which is 436-6450, and ask them to put you through to Blood Collecting Center.
That's the QEH PBX.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. That's Wendy Lord. Thank you so much, the Senior Blood Collection Technician. I pray to God that people respond in the way that you would like and continue to do so in order to save some lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Great.
Have a good day.
You too. When we come back, we're going to speak with Attorney at Law, Mark Lord. Mark Lord is not the person, Mark Forde. Mark Lord somehow has just been on my mind for the last couple of days too. So I want you to stay by the television. I know you have questions for Mark Forde, Attorney at Law, about land, about wills, about everything. So stay tuned and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Now on Friday we did advertise that Minister of Housing, the Honorable Dwight Sutherland, would have been on the show. Unfortunately, he's not here today. I think he is on the Friday, but we had a number of questions that were sent in, and I'm going to encourage you to send your questions for the minister. And some of the questions we have here, and you're free to call, and we're going to put them to the minister as we are waiting now to also join Mark Forde. We want to share some of the questions that you would have sent and let us know if this is something that you want to hear or if you're missing any of these questions that you want to share with the minister. Some people wrote about the houses in parish land in St. Philip. The question is, are those houses currently occupied? We know that housing is a major issue for some in Barbados, so get your questions to us today so that we can share them with the minister. Other questions: why does it take so long to place persons who apply for housing? Very, very good question. I know people who indicated to me that they've been waiting 27 years for a house, and saw other people getting it before them. Now, the situation for the other people might have been different. It might have been worse. I don't know. But certainly, Minister Sutherland is new to the ministry, and he has pledged publicly to address the backlog of the applications as well as the current issues. Also, it will be interesting if you can let us know the situation about with your house as it relates to Elsa and the freak storm. Have you received those repairs? Have they been completed? The minister did say, he was very transparent to say, there were some challenges and for some with the contractors, but if there's anybody out there who can actually say that they've had their home repaired in its entirety, feel free to call us now and let us know, or send us some information pertaining to your house so that we can have the matter addressed with the Minister of Housing. There are also other questions that entailed the project at the Hope in St. James and the rollout of that project. So many questions, so many that I cannot go through them all here because he's not here and it wouldn't be fair to put all out there. But if you hear any of the questions that I just said and I just shared with you relate to you, or if you didn't hear something that does not relate to you but you want that answered, kindly send us a WhatsApp to 228-5562 is the WhatsApp. Or you can call us now if you want and just leave that information public out there so that we can share it with the minister. Or leave the comment on Facebook. We also have someone asking about the Rock Hall squatters and the plan to provide the house and land for these squatters. And is it free or will they be paying for these structures? The other thing I wish to draw to your attention, I had a conversation with Senator Dr. Chelston Brathwaite. Dr. Brathwaite was spearheading the Million Trees project back in 2020, which unfortunately came to a little halt because of COVID and things had to be changed. But I spoke to Dr. Brathwaite last night and I want to give him credit for this idea. I said to him that the minister was going to be on. Unfortunately, he isn't, but he wanted me to share this with the minister. Dr. Chelston's Brathwaite idea was when you are giving a home, a government home, as the government is providing the PV systems at top for you to generate income and save some money, they also put in the water tank, but they also put in a garden for you, at least give you the seedlings to start planting food in a small space. So that is his idea, and I wish to give him credit for it, because when I called him, I said to him, we will be giving away some trees on the show. Who better to assist us with the man who was behind the concept that the Prime Minister came up with, as well as, I should say, sharing the idea of the United Nations to plant more trees. The Prime Minister also made sure that it happened here in Barbados, but he spearheaded it. So he wanted me to share that with the minister. Planting food in small spaces, the idea is giving, allowing a person to purchase a home through government, these government houses. You have the PV at top. You have the tank system, which you then have water, access to running water in storage, I should say. But you also have food. So what better way to package this? And it's not for free. They can incorporate it into the payment plan of the houses at the Hope, for example, because they're doing PV there. So if you're doing PV, perhaps you may want to consider moving forward with the 10,000 homes that you're about to build. Introduce farming in small spaces by making sure that you show them the plot of land, a piece of land that you're going to dig up for them, and provide them the seedlings. So even if it costs the government $500 to do, incorporate that in the monies that you are asking for people, or the 100% mortgage that you're giving them, allow them to pay back for it monthly. What greater gift, or should I say easier way, if you're talking about easing Bajans, that is definitely easing a Bajan. Because if you're buying a home and the garden is there, The seedlings are there, and you can plant, and you can make some money off of the roof, and you can have your water storage too. That, in my opinion, is the way to go, and it's not my idea. My idea was to give away a few trees, encourage backyard farming, but Dr. Brather expanded on that last night. He will be visiting us on Face It and Fix It from time to time to discuss the trees and the whole concept of trees. So I wanted to share that with you. And again, don't forget that on Friday, we speak to 5Cs through GCF, Green Climate Fund, where we will be giving away those dwarf trees starting this Friday. But you do have to answer a question about 5Cs before you can get the tree, or something on climate change. So we will pose the questions to you, and you will get your trees, and you will pick them up from the plant shop, the New Horizon plant store in Sheraton. My apologies, Sky Mall. Sky Mall, don't get angry at me for that little error, but the plant shop is over next door at our friends at Sky Mall for you to pick up those trees when you win the trees. So we encourage you here to please stay tuned. There's a lot happening on the show to help you. And I want to go back again to the blood pressure machines. If you have a machine that you can donate, please call us at CBC or call me after the show. Send me a message and say, Miss Haigh, somebody passed at my home, or my uncle passed away. He had a blood pressure machine. I don't need it because I already have one. We want to be able to donate that machine. To the pharmacies, if you're listening, and I know you are, I'm calling you and asking you to kindly donate a machine so that we can share that, give those away to the public, and encourage them to test their blood pressure and not wait to go into a doctor's office where the pressure then can skyrocket because they call white coat. You're a little nervous and you don't, you're frightened and you didn't want to hear what the doctor got to say, so your pressure shot up through the roof. What they're trying to do is say, look, stay home, measure your pressure every day and document it so that when you're coming for your checkup, whatever they see there in the office, they know, and at Haigh, they know it is white coat. So we here at Face It and Fix It, because we want to help, we decided that we're going to go this route and get the blood pressure machines, as many as we can. So I'm asking all Barbadians, all pharmacies, all distributors, if you have just one machine, please help us to donate it to somebody else and to the people who are no longer using the machine because somebody in the family passed away and you already have one. I'm asking you to kindly donate that machine here to us on Face It and Fix It. So we do have a caller before Attorney Law comes on. Good morning. Face It and Fix It, you're on the air.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, peace be unto you and yours, Miss Haigh. Say
And to
hi
you.
to your mom for me. And I heard you mention that, when your time come, you pray that you'll give. But even if you don't get it, you're a good person, and the Creator will send some good person for you. Or it might not be one or many persons to you. So keep hope alive.
I'm not worried about me as much as I worried about everybody too, equally. That I strongly believe that when parents do so much for their children owe something back. This once a man and twice a child is very real.
That is what I said.
Very real. And honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long in the land. Go ahead.
I called this morning the same concern of the elderly. I heard, and this is my third time, I heard the Minister Humphrey spoke yesterday, and it touched my heart. Mm-hmm. He said that he want to make sure that he, see how many elderly is in this country, and see about whether they're being treated well or not. And I hope it is not lip service. And I am praying because I always say I was raised by a great aunt, and I love the elderly. The elderly teach me a lot, and I love them. And when I have a good friend that died from COVID, and every time I hear someone pass from COVID, it really hurts because they die alone, can't hold a hand, not there to say the last word to them, and it really hurt. It really hurt me. So I hope that it would not be lip service. He would not let a stone go unturned, and he will make sure that the elderly being treated with respect, dignity, love, and care. That is my thing. I hope that he will continue with it. Thank you very much.
Don't go yet. Do you know, though, that Minister Humphrey, as much as they can put the policies in place, it's the public that needs to make sure. I mean, of course, they will make sure that people will be held accountable. But on the same token, we, the public, we need to make sure that we protect the elderly. And again, I want to reach out to the children that are listening right now. According to the old people, the big Harbat children that still living off the parents, or and taking the pension check and spending it on themselves.
Listen, you only see them when the check come in. They come to the house, they take them, and they got to put the gas in the car too, And then when they go to the supermarket, I had an elderly lady. She was in her 90s, and we said, "Well, you want to keep off the road?" She said, "When I give them the money, what they feel like, and they ain't buying what they want, and they ain't bringing back no change." So that was sad. So how do you
ask your mother or your grandmother, and you're working, even if you're working? I mean, be honest with you, and your mother don't have, and she's broke and she's elderly. How do you, in good conscience, ask her for gas money to go and get something for your mother? I mean, that's your mother. Perhaps you can ask somebody else for the $20 or the $30. But I find that people, bitches would say you're taking a 6 for 9. But some of these stories that I am hearing, I go to the hairdresser every 2 weeks to dye my hair because it's turning me gray. I am disgusted, honestly, by the way I see how old people are being treated.
True.
And it's not only about money. If you can't help with money, go
something else.
Go and air the mattress for the old girl because she's been lying on it. Wash the clothes, clean the house.
Make sure that her skin is bathed properly. Because at certain years you can't rub the back and things like that. I bless. I have the luck with people, but I know I'm blessed. My great aunt raised me, and I will go and do that. I will make sure that she gets certain things. And my mother, we were not close, but thank God I looked after her before she passed. So I was blessed before then, because as a child, I know there was this lady. She was the stalwart of St. Barbados Church, and Sister Trotman was on her sick bed, and she asked me for a glass of water, and I gave her, and she said, "God bless you." And sometimes when I down in my valleys, and these are elderly people that I did things for that blessed me, comes right back to me. So I know. And
the other thing too, where the children will always be around the parents in time of plenty, but they're not around the parents in time of need.
True.
So when the parent was doing well, and the Harbat children, because that's all it's called them, the Harbat children getting support by the parent who was still able to give, all of a sudden they disappear when it's their time now to be of service, be of help. Not of service, because not a service, to me, I think it's an obligation. I think you're obligated to look after your parents, look after your grand.
They looked after you.
I don't know if it's how this world is going or what, or is it maybe the presence of social media that has made me more and more aware of this. But what I am seeing, I pray to God, what the same way Miss St. Pastor,
True.
And what you do to others will come back to you.
Yes.
And those people out there who can hear my voice and know that you are doing wrong by your grandmother, your mother, your father, your great uncle, I hope you think twice before you decided to do anything to hurt them or decide not to help them, because not helping them is still a form of abuse by ignoring them. Final words that you, caller. Or I think we lost that caller, but I want to thank her for calling, and I do get very passionate about this topic and equally about the disabled community, because When you're vulnerable, and people that know better should do better by you. And it's just common sense. It's just humanity. And I don't know if some people have lost their way. Some people are chalking it down to mental health issues, and perhaps some of what we're seeing in the behavior is related to mental health. And the people who we are asking to give of help probably may need some help themselves. I get that. But there are also people who confuse mental health with manipulation because they just want to manipulate the elderly. They play the victim, and then they try to get what they can get from the old folks. And I join Minister Humphrey in his fight, and I hope that all Barbadians join him too, because he can't do it by himself. The government cannot perform these duties by themselves. They can only put the policies in place, and then they expect people like me and you to make sure that it happens. My mom, right now, God bless your heart, and may the Lord look out for you and for every elderly person watching television right now, and for every caregiver, out there, bless your heart. You know, I don't even know if you get paid enough, but if you don't, may the Lord bless you. We're going to take a couple of WhatsApps here and read them before we get on to Mark. And the WhatsApper here says, if they can put it up on the screen, good morning. I had an application at housing for some time now, and I still have not been able to get a unit. All no, and I need a home desperately. Well, I'm sure that is one of many, and not one person bold enough to put that out there, representing those who are waiting for a house. Now, a house is not an overnight fix. Let me be clear. And I'm not picking up for any government, but 20-something years ago waiting, governments change. You got to restart, you know? You got to restart. And it happens. Once government changes, there's an election. Whatever happened before, it's supposed to be a continuum. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. I do not envy the Minister of Housing because he has a Herculean task when it comes to housing. Equally, I don't envy the Minister of Health either, because those are some big, tough ministries. But they need our help. They need the help from the public too, because sometimes you are in a home and you're about to get evicted. You then lean on the welfare department, and then you lean on to housing. And it's not necessarily a minister's fault, you know, but you didn't say that government has to do this and has to do that. And government, yes, has a right to look after its people. But the persons who are evicting you sometimes could really work with you, though. And the people at the welfare department, God bless their soul, I know a lot of them, and they do a fantastic job. But truth be told, some don't always wake up on the right side of the bed, and then that is translated into treatment that is not desirable to the recipient wanting the welfare. And God knows it is already bad for people to have to go to an agency and beg for help, then to be spoken down to and embarrassed. And those are the types of things that I'm hoping that this minister puts an end to. Which then leads me to another point. Forgive me for the preamble. This morning, somebody asked about the licensing authority in Bra moving Bra, and it's a good move. Minister Bradshaw, I commend you for getting it done. But equally, the service has to be in line with the renovated building. And so I think it's a major accomplishment to bring it back, to give the workers a clean space for them to deliver the service. But here is where the problem lies. Civil servant A works at, let's just use licensing authority, don't answer the phone, long lunch, do all these things and frustrate you. That civil servant then goes to a place like the Barbados Water Authority and complain for a big bill, a burst is not repaired, and all those types of things. So what is mind-boggling for me is that you're all civil servants working to help the country, better everybody, yourselves, your family, your friends. How do you not help and do your job, for example, in the licensing authority, But then you would want to carry on somebody at Water Authority for not doing theirs, for delaying you, for not letting you get water. Do you understand where I'm coming from with this? We are all in this together. Licensing Authority, Barbados Water Authority, NPC, NCC, NHC, BRA, all of these agencies, NIS, Welfare, Child Care Board, all of the agencies out there. But there are some that frustrate the public more than others. So this morning, asking, hopefully these civil servants that are listening, it's not all of you that don't do your work. Please do not take this the wrong way. I know a lot of people who do an excellent job, but they rely on other people in the department to do theirs. So when you go in now to the department and this wonderful customer rep is greeting you with a smile, she now has to take this complaint now to somebody else, who will take it to somebody else. It is the in-between there of the possible attitude, or the person not at work and the person not at the desk, and then it lost the file and all kind of stuff. That frustrates the public. So I would love to see everybody going to work and doing their job. If you don't feel well mentally that day, take a day off. Have a mental break day or a mental health day or something. But don't come to the people place knowing that people waiting for the certificates and weighing vehicles and NIS and, well, I don't want to come too hard on NIS because I just had a really good experience, but for those who don't treat people like that, because you rely on all of these services, the same service you work in, you rely on another government service to help you. Let that sink in for a minute. So the next time that you refuse to answer the phone or you refuse something, remember that burst pipe that you were waiting for to get fixed. You know, remember that truck that you were waiting for to get a little bit of water that you were frustrated with the Water Authority about, and vice versa. So, and Water Authority, remember, you know, that you were delaying somebody in terms of fixing a pipe or fixing their bill or so on and so forth. So please look out for each other and know that all civil servants and private people, we are all in this together. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will speak with Dr. Forde. We will speak to Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. A few things I need to fix. It is not Dr. Forde. This morning I have referred to him as Mark Lord. Dr. Forde, I do apologize. He is attorney at law, Mark Forde. Sometimes it happens when you're on a roll and you're being passionate about a few things. So I just wanted to fix that. He is attorney at law, Mark Forde. But in the meantime, we want to show you a clip. The Honorable Mia Amor Motley and her time at the 9th Summit of the Americas. And again, let me remind Barbadians who may not feel happy that the Prime Minister is traveling. She explained the need for the travel during a press conference yesterday, I believe when she came back from the same summit. This is something she has to do. She has to put her hand up and raise her voice to be heard, to be seen, so that we here in Barbados and the wider Caribbean, people can pay attention. I refer to her as a transformational leader, a leader who seeks to transform. She is doing a phenomenal job, whether you like her or not. We cannot take that away from her. She is the first Prime Minister to get the attention of the entire world and the first Prime Minister this side of the globe to tell America that it was wrong to not include Cuba and one or two other countries, and stood up to them. She is fearless. She exercises great judgment. In my opinion, I genuinely, and I say this without fear or favor, whether you political or not, I genuinely admire Prime Minister Motley, and I believe that she is going in the right direction. And if sometimes she doesn't, they pull back, they do what they got to do, they fall down, they get back, because nobody is going to be perfect. So I wanted to play some of this clip for you. For those of you who might have missed it, those of you who misunderstand, why is she traveling? Why is she on the cover of Time? Because they recognize she has a voice, and people around the world are respecting her. And that could only fare well for us, because the world, the way things are right now with the pandemic, and cost of living is going up. You imagine maybe ordering goods, and our little bit of order for 10 million or whatever it is, that's small, 2 million, 3 million, compared to Europeans ordering and Southeast Asia ordering essential goods. They don't remember us in the Caribbean. We don't exist. So I just said that as a preamble for Mickey to understand why she is doing what she's doing. And it is my pleasure to play this clip of our Prime Minister at the 9th Summit of the Americas. Here's the clip.
Chair now recognizes the Honorable Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados.
Bless my eyes this morning. The sun is on the rise again. The way earthly things are going, anything can happen. Mr. Secretary, there is so much trouble in the world. Excellencies, there is so much trouble in the world. Heads of government, there is so much trouble in the world. Heads of state, there is so much trouble in the world. I've chosen the language of Bob Marley this morning, not because I'm an apostle of Bob, as you probably have realized by now, but also because he reminds us of the day-to-day reality of our people and of our citizens. And we have come to Los Angeles hopeful that we're not just going to engage in speeches, or we're not just going to engage in platitudes, but we go home to make a difference to people at perhaps the most difficult time this world has seen in 100 years. We have 3 global crises, and any one is sufficient to bring us down. The climate crisis hurts from you here in California in fires, to us in the Caribbean through the heart attack of hurricanes, and the chronic NCDs of water crises and droughts, or floods, depending on where you go. We fight the pandemic. And even as we talk about the pandemic, we need to start to qualify it, because we fight the COVID pandemic without realizing that the slow onset pandemic of antimicrobial resistance is already upon us, being fueled further by how we farm, how we treat each other with the abuse of antibiotics, and how we literally allow those things to flow into our environment and contaminate our water system. And as if that was not enough, we now fight the prices of food and fuel and fertilizer, knowing full well that the only destination thereafter is going to be a debt crisis and an economic crisis if we do not intervene to break the slide. My friends, how much more evidence do we need? You see men sailing on their ego trip, blast off on their spaceship, million miles from reality. No care for you, no care for me. If I could have sung it, you would have joined me. But I don't need you to join me in the words of this song. I need you to join us in the chorus of action that our people need, not want. Our people need immediate intervention. 6-week crops and 12-week crops is what is going to feed our people. We need to be able to shield them from the price of fertilizer that is making their efforts almost impossible. We need equally to recognize, as you heard Prime Minister Brown and Prime Minister Davis say already this morning, that the debt crisis is already among many developing countries. We simply do not have the fiscal space to respond to crises not spawned by ourselves, but spawned by others. And we are facing a double jeopardy. Our countries were those from whom wealth was extracted in order to build the developed world. Our countries were left at independence with no compact, no money to finance basic rights of housing and healthcare and education. And when we fought to do it, now we find ourselves having those efforts crowded out, literally, by our inability to be able to face and find the money because we are using it to recover from climate crises, not of our own making. Where does the double jeopardy come? That it is the very industrial revolution that the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors financed that is now causing us not to be able to respond to the needs of our people in the most basic of ways that humanity requires.
Well, that was Prime Minister Mia Motley at the 9th Summit of the Americas. We certainly have a lot to face as it relates to the climate crisis and everything that happens to us as a result, and the pandemic and the war. So, Prime Minister, I thank you for standing up and putting your hands up, so for all to see. And I could only hope that good things will come out of your trips and your meetings for us here in Barbados and the wider Caribbean. Now we have with us finally, and I was just looking back at the clip quietly. I referred to attorney at law in a previous show as Corey Forde. I've referred to him in this segment as Mark Lord. I've referred to him as Dr. Forde, and I'm not quite sure why it is. A simple name like Mark Forde, I have more or less created new names for him. He's joining us shortly. He's just having a little bit of technical challenges, as we know we always do sometimes, because this is the way we do shows now, not only here in Barbados, but all over the world. Because of the pandemic, people don't normally come into studios, and I believe we're going to get there at some point soon. So as we continue to get that sorted out, and all of these questions that we have here for him, I hope we can get through it before the end of the show. But until we get him back, I want to just focus again on Prime Minister Motley's message to the world about the climate crisis, about the fact that we can't handle the debt that we see coming out of the damage caused by these problems. And again, as I said, I'm praying to God that she gets everything that she wants for us and for the wider Caribbean. Mark, are you there with us?
Joyanne, nice to see you.
Nice
as
to see you
always.
too. Nice to see you too.
Thank you.
Well,
Sorry to have been a little bit late, and thank you for holding the fort.
that's all right. We do what we do. But here's the funny thing. The first question coming off the heels of the Prime Minister, which I probably should have put second or third, but I can only do it in the order of what we received the WhatsApps. And they said it's about pornography. So early in the morning. Is pornography considered misuse in terms, I didn't say in terms of, but I would only imagine they mean computer misuse. Is it, because I have a twofold question here. Is pornography considered misuse? Is it true that if I send something to somebody and they complain about me, am I in trouble? So I guess you're talking about sharing that to somebody.
Not to the best of my knowledge. If somebody sends something to you that's pornographic on say WhatsApp or Facebook, I think there's quite a bit of that going on anyway.
Really?
But it's like plain nudity or something more graphic, then just delete it. I don't think there's anything actionable, because you have to ask yourself, a lot of law is, to what extent has your reputation been injured? To what extent have you been hurt? What have you lost?
Well,
If
let me say there. What if I send the picture to my boyfriend? We fall out.
Right.
Now he decide, well, I'm going to show the world you, and I didn't
Yes.
give him permission to do that. I suspect that
right.
is
No, that's
what.
Right. No, that's a different ball game. You see, I couldn't suspect that. I was just answering the question as asked.
Right,
On the
okay.
Computer Misuse Act. No. If somebody unsends something to embarrass you, no. Let's go back to my question. What have you lost? You have lost a lot. You have lost dignity, respect, and perhaps
Privacy.
reputation. Privacy. No, you see, this is why we always tell, and I will say this, Joy, and I think you will understand what I mean by this. We always tell our girl children, especially, never, ever, ever think you love this boy so much that you will send a nude picture to him. You should never do it, because the day you fall out, the day the two of you fall out or have a disagreement, in his immature mind, it is very likely that he will send it to some friends and some colleagues and this and that. And then your reputation could go through the chute for a very long time.
But that person can get into
in
trouble.
that case, that is my legal opinion, yes. Because in a way, it could be almost like defamation. But it is misuse of the computer to do that. Sometimes I know it's difficult to action, because if you think how cyberspace works, Joyanne, this person sends it to this person, that person sends it to that person, so on and so forth. But I believe that someone has already got into problems with that. And I know in Trinidad there's a case with a very well-known cricketer who did something like that with his girlfriend or his ex-wife, something like that. And he got into serious civil problems. So
Can the argument be, well, she posed for it, she begged me to take the pictures, or she took them herself,
right,
and she
sent it
gave
to
me.
Yeah, but she gave you.
She didn't give everybody.
She gave
else.
only you. You follow me? If you send me a nude photograph of you, and then it's my business to keep it, not unsend it. From the time you unsend it, you run yourself into legal problems, in my opinion.
So the same thing then would
Because
have
you're
to do.
damaging it. She sent it.
The same thing would apply to videos.
I'm sorry,
The
please go
same thing would apply to home videos. If you decide to do your own personal home video in the privacy of
Of
your
a
bedroom.
pornographic nature?
Of a pornographic
Of a pornographic
nature.
nature?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. That's probably even worse. That's probably even worse.
Okay, so
Because
people,
I dare say that video is more graphic than a photo. I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I just urge Barbadians and people who are watching this from around the world, think twice before you send out that picture, and tell your children don't share those pictures, because it could go back to to haunt you, because even though, I keep telling people, even though you have a case, the damage has already been done. The picture is already out. I think Mark is frozen there again. We're going to get him back shortly, hopefully. But the next question, as we get back, Mark, oh, there he is. The next question, WhatsApper, is going to go up on the screen. What can I do if my child went at a friend and they went over to a neighbor and the neighbor's dog bit my child? Can I sue for medical expenses? I believe the thing will come up, the WhatsApp will come up on the screen. But what I have here, yes, there it is. What can I do if my child went at a friend and they went over to the neighbor and the neighbor's dog bit my child? Can I sue the neighbor for medical expenses?
Which neighbor? The one where the dog bit the child, or the one you left the child with? You see? Let me answer both. You take your child over to a friend. You repose a certain amount of trust in that friend to look after your child. Okay? I think we've all done that at some time. And now, if the child took it, if the neighbor, your friend, took it upon him or herself to take your child over by a neighbor that has a dog, right? In my opinion, I would take it up with the friend to whom I took my child, because I left that child in your care. And I would think, you see, oftentimes we think in terms of strict law and putting people in court. In my opinion, reasonable, now I know, Joyanne, people are not always reasonable, but I would take it up with a friend with whom I left, because I would take it up on a civil matter, friend to friend. I would say, well, look, George, you know, I left Maria with you, and I really feel that, you know, I expected that you would have taken enough care after her while I left you in her care, left her in your care. And I really think that you could pay for the medical expenses that I'm going to face getting her repaired. You know, now he may take it up with the neighbor next door if he wants, but I think that the primary duty to me, the person with the child, would be from the friend.
Isn't that the same if I'm driving in your car? I expect to get there safe, and if I send my child by your house, I expect her to be safe. And something happens to my child in your presence, I should, the same way I could sue your insurance company or you for negligence if you're driving fast. You could have a case then, but saying, look, I think you were negligent because you were drinking alcohol and you were supposed to be looking at Mary for me. I mean, a case in those circumstances, you'd have to be able to prove that. And then you can have maybe a case for negligence. Is that something that can happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, except in this case, there won't be any insurance per se as such. And then therefore, you take it up directly with the person. You see, the thing about friends is that you, in reality, Joya, you don't want to, things happen. And you don't want to say, I'm going to put my friend in court, you know, for medical expenses for my child. You know, so you try what I call the civil meaning between persons as opposed to court, and if, however, the expenses are, let's say the injuries are bad, then you know you might very well have to go the court route if the friend is unwilling to pay, or sometimes you negotiate as a former chief justice, not former chief, as a former senior lawyer told me once, you can negotiate behind a writ. You know, you can sue first and then talk afterwards. You know, but I believe that you should talk first in a case like this specifically, and try to get it resolved between yourselves. You know, because I mean, it could happen to any of us. You know, maybe the friend took it over by the neighbor in good faith. They thought they knew the dog, or maybe thought the dog was in the back or tied up. You know, but I think those things are better resolved between neighbors. But yes, strictly speaking in law, I would say not necessarily the person
Sorry,
then the
could you
court
repeat?
can decide
Mark, you were frozen
which
there for a
one
second.
should be the responsible or
could you repeat?
the
Could
person
you-
be held accountable.
Can you hear me? Could you just sort of repeat the
Yeah.
last sentence you said
Am I
because you
stuck
were
again?
frozen? You were, but you can repeat just
Yeah.
the last few words
Can
you
you hear
said.
me?
I can hear you now. Just repeat the last few words you said maybe a minute ago.
Yes.
Got you.
Yes. In cases like this, your lawyer will often sue both persons, put a claim against both the neighbor and the friend. And then the court will decide, or between lawyers, you will decide who is the person to be held accountable. So you cover everyone.
Okay. All right. So we have a next question. He's frozen again, but hopefully he can hear us and we can put the question up in the meantime. Can texts I get in WhatsApp be used as proof of stalking? And what is done about stalking
Are we
here?
back?
Yeah, we're back. So we're going to have the next WhatsApp up, and I will repeat. And the next WhatsApp is, can text messages, texts I get in WhatsApp, be used as proof of stalking? And what is done about stalking here in Barbados? Now, before you answer that, there's two questions coming out of that. One, if it's an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, and two, if it's a stranger, because I want to define what a stalker is to start with legally versus harassment.
I don't know of any strict law speaking to stalking, like how it is so prevalent in the United States. It would have to likely fall under harassment,
Okay.
the harassment law, you see? And yes, that is considered an offense. So yes, you can use the text messages as proof of harassment. You know, the person is following me here, following me there, and so on. Obviously, stalking includes harassment. You're making the person uncomfortable and so on. So to me, given our current law, to the best of my legal knowledge, there is not necessarily a big difference between stalking in our law and harassment. If I were to represent someone or a prosecutor, I believe they will bring it. Are you hearing me, Joanna? Because I'm
Loud and clear,
stuck.
loud and clear, loud and clear.
Hello?
You're doing well. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Oh, good.
We're hearing you.
Right.
We're hearing you.
Right. I don't think there's a difference made here between stalking and harassment. You know, I'm not aware of a stalking law. You know, so I think it will fall under harassment.
So if you're receiving text messages, unwanted messages, you block the person, obviously, because you have ways and
Right,
means.
right.
If that person then decides to show up at your house, no, they're trespassing, they're harassing, you can call the police. Is that a criminal
Yes.
offense, or because would you have to get a restraining order if he doesn't stop or she doesn't stop? How does that work? The steps.
Right. You go and you file, you go to magistrate's court and you file an application for a restraining order. Because the person, there's a difference between a protection order and a restraining order. A protection order is for someone who lives in the house with you. A restraining order is for someone who does not. So you go to court and you apply for a restraining order. Usually these things, the court tries to hear these matters within a week because it could be serious, as you would imagine. So they're heard, and if proved, then the magistrate will make an order that the alleged perpetrator or the perpetrator, if found to be guilty, should stay how many of the yards away, at a minimum away from the person making the accusation.
And that's for restraining, but protection
A restraining order.
could work for maybe an elderly person in the house, or a protection order can be
Sure.
done.
Sure, because usually a protection order is usually you would say, well, you know, he's threatened me to do this, and I fear for my life or injury to my person, and so on. But you can't just come and say that because, some people may have ulterior motives when they bring no proof whatsoever, not one shred of evidence that this person is actually a threat to you. You may have an ulterior motive. But in a case where it can be proved, especially if it's serious and injury has occurred before, the magistrate can order that the perpetrator leave the premises in X amount of days.
Oh, okay.
You have to find somewhere else to live.
Find somewhere else to live. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few of those, where.
But what if the hosts? But what if the host belongs to the person, though? I mean, how does that? If the person is the breadwinner, paying the rent, the lease is in the person's name, they own the house.
Yeah.
How that fares out? That's a different story altogether.
Yeah. Well, again, that is a defense. They say, well, this is my house. She put Saint one into this. You understand? So the magistrate has to make a decision as to how he or she will play this one out. You may say, well, man, do you have somewhere to go? For example, I'm just assuming that the female is the person bringing the application, right?
It could go both ways. It doesn't matter.
It could go both ways. Yes. So do you have somewhere to go? But usually the onus is really put on the onus from the magistrate, from the bench, is really put on the person who's perpetrating the violence. And but of course, yes, he's still the homeowner. So it could get a little bit. So what the magistrate may do, is just say, look, should you may give a chance and say, should you do any more of this? Visit any further violence upon this person, this is what we are going to do. And put, a threat, you'll be forwarded up to Dodds, that type of thing.
Wow.
For starters. But it is a little bit of a rub. And I'm glad you asked that question because yes, I have had a situation once in St. Joseph Court years ago, like that. And the person was the homeowner. He did the building. He put the money in, all of that. He did win the case, even though she brought the charge against him. He did win because her evidence was very thin. But largely when I argued the case, it was largely because this man is the homeowner, and what she was accusing him of, to me, did not reach the standard of where the magistrate could bring the hammer down on him. But yes, so a decision often has, some magistrates have to make difficult decisions, Everything is not cut and dry and straightforward. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. We have another question here that I am going to add in a little something here pertaining to lawyers and doctors. The WhatsApp here says, I'll read it verbatim, corrupt lawyers can be complained about to the bar, but what about doctors? Proof is in the result of a surgery years down the road and a new surgery that was needed. Now, I'm not quite sure what they are talking about in terms of details, but I would like to add to this to bring this into a better answer. Recently, we have seen a number of lawyers answer to judges, and the cases are done, and they would have found themselves in guilty. Doctors now, on the other hand. So recently, as I said, it never used to happen. Barbados is now seeing judges coming down on lawyers if they don't act in the way that they're supposed to. But doctors, what happens to doctors when a surgery is not done in the way it should be done, and it creates a different problem, or you die for something that is simple? What can that person do? Because I have never really heard of any cases, minus Michael Jackson, that was this worldwide thing, where the doctor was found guilty. But does that happen in Barbados, and can it?
Doctors are indeed sued in Barbados, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes, they settle the matter. They settle the matter. The difficulty with your question is the part that I didn't quite get was years down the road.
That was the type WhatsApp. I'm not sure what they meant. They said they have proof is the result of a surgery years down the road and a new surgery that was needed. So maybe they're saying that whatever they did required a surgery down the road and then another something, nothing is 100%. Let me start there.
Yes.
When doctors operate, there are always risk, always.
Correct. And you often have to sign a document, releasing the doctor from any, and I do not want at all to use the word medical misconduct, but you sign it, but that doesn't necessarily release the doctor if he did not act as professionally as he or she should have. The standard really, if you bring a claim against a doctor, the standard is that if another group of medical men, quote unquote, would have done the same thing, that is a strong defense for a doctor. Oftentimes people feel very aggrieved when something goes wrong in surgery or whatever, but things can go wrong. The doctor, if he can find, sometimes they are indeed liable, yes. But if another group of medical men say, look, we would have done thing in this particular circumstance, that is a strong defense for that doctor against whom the charge, quote unquote, is being brought, the claim is being brought. You ask about a board. Now, let me clarify something. You don't go to the bar for a lawyer who you think wronged you. You go to the disciplinary committee. They meet every Wednesday, to the best of my knowledge. But again, as with doctors and with lawyers, you have to bring proof. And oftentimes people don't turn up. You see? Or they don't bring any proof. Or when they say, you're supposed to come on this Wednesday, people don't come. However, there's something called the medical board, as far as I know, and a complaint can be made to the medical board for doctors.
Okay.
That is, but you can still bring, if you have a strong enough claim, you can still bring a claim against a doctor in a court of law.
I often wonder how come parents are not compensated when the child is born with cerebral palsy, because it's not something that happens in the womb. It is as the child is making their exit, or entrance, I should say, into the world, exiting the womb. I understand that is when that takes place. I don't know if parents sign, well, my children will know, so back in them days you probably didn't sign nothing, but I don't know what it is now. If you sign something as the mother, the pregnant mother, that if this happens, because that child needs care for the rest of his or her life. I know for a fact in the United States, they care for the children. They send caregivers, they do everything, because it's not something that happens in the womb. Can a doctor be sued for that?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, that is news to me.
Okay.
I don't know much about cerebral palsy.
Okay.
And but I guess you would have done more research on
Yeah,
it
a little bit for disabilities that it's happened.
If that being the case, I would think maybe most of the mothers don't know that to be a fact, and know that they would have a claim against a doctor in the case of cerebral palsy. So they just accept it, and that is that. But if what you're saying, to the extent that it is true, well, then I would think that the obstetrician made a mistake.
I know of a person here, she now works with the UN, she's no longer in Barbados. She tried, she never got through. The child probably would have been like 31, this is 30-something years ago. And she tried here and unsuccessful, and 9 years old, the little boy died. But again, she tried to pursue the matter and was not successful, because in Barbados, they will tell you, which is true, and same thing for lawyers, they said that it's a fraternity. Doctors may not go, because you will need another opinion of a doctor in order to,
Yes.
and then similarly, well, in your case, with the lawyer's case, is a little bit different, because the lawyers carry a judge who happens to know the law. So the judges make the decision when it comes to any lawyers who may be stepping out of line. But when it comes to, say, testifying against another doctor, to say, well, you made a mistake, it probably becomes a little ticklish, because there's so many gray areas in medicine that anything can happen, including even giving you an injection. You could have an allergic reaction, and it's not your doctor's fault. You could die. Right. You could die in the simplest of surgeries because you happen to have an aneurysm while it was happening. So it's a very gray area, and one that is ticklish. So I would stop there for that particular one. For speaking of it in a legal aspect of things, because it's a very tricky something. Yes. When it comes to malpractice, as far as medical malpractice is concerned. Now, we do have another question. It may not go up on the screen because I have it. It's about prenups. Prenups are not honored in this country as much as they are in the United States. A prenup agreement can be overturned. Why is that? Is it that there are loopholes in the law?
I don't know why that is. It's really strange because not too long ago I was reading the Succession Act, which deals, of course, with estates, and it does mention prenuptial arrangements, prenuptial agreements. But when it comes to divorces, I don't. And this question was discussed a few years ago in the newspaper with a couple of senior lawyers, and they were like, "We don't think this is going to fly in Barbados."
And
why that is so jarring, I do not know.
The judge would say, well, she's accustomed to a certain lifestyle and she must continue the certain lifestyle. And imagine the man saying, wait a minute, I divorced her and we signed a prenup, but yes, I still have to make sure she maintains the lifestyle she's accustomed to, so I have to not give her my money. Basically, yes, but does it work the other way around? What if I had the money and I made you sign a prenup? Would the law said to me, I have to still pay him because he was accustomed to a certain lifestyle? If you understand what I'm saying, if it has to be fair, it has to be fair. So, go ahead.
These things are meant to be gender neutral. So if the woman is a person, quote unquote, with the money, well then the man has a right to make a quote unquote claim against her for the lifestyle that he enjoyed while married to her. So she would have to pay him money. That is not, while we say it is unusual, it is not unheard of. And yes, she'll have to pony up the money.
Wow.
It has happened with some celebrities, it's happened in the States. And it can happen here, same way.
All right, we have another question in the WhatsApp. My fence is being pushed down by plants by my neighbor. Can I get them to replace the fence? That's the question. I don't know if they mean go to the lawyer. I don't know. I just sharing the questions that came from whoever.
Again, in a case like this, Joy, talk to your neighbor. Don't wait till the thing is falling down. I believe that most people, not all, but most people are reasonable and say, listen, my fence was straight. You think you could do something about that because you're pushing down my fence and it doesn't look good. And I believe that more, especially if you're friends with the neighbor. I don't want to be enemies with your neighbor. But again, that's a civil matter. Some people might want to call the police and all that. That's not a police matter. It's not a crime. But I believe that is something that should be resolved between neighbors, honestly.
But Mark, people have called the police for boundary lines and all. People have called the police for plants
police time.
Yeah, but they have.
Joya, I sit on a particular board and I've seen this type of thing. And sometimes the police will come because they will try to like resolve what may be a little issue between the neighbors and say, well, madam, this isn't really a police matter, but we try to. I mean, I've interviewed police about this type of thing. And, I say, look, we just went because, we were called and we didn't want something to escalate, but we just tried to talk to the neighbors and see if they could resolve it, assist in resolving, facilitate resolution. But it is really not a crime or a criminal offense, you know? And so, yes, the police will come. For example, Joya, one of my pet peeves, the burning of stuff in Barbados. Something that I really, really presents problems for a lot of people. And I really believe at this stage in our development, it should be a criminal offense. Honestly, I do feel that strongly.
It's not by now. It's not.
To the best of my knowledge, it still falls in the realm of civil. So you have to put the perpetrator in court if they're not listening to you. Because as you know, asthma is rife in Barbados. You live in a house and you have smoke blowing through from a neighbor burning green leaves, and a lot of foolishness. But as far as I know, you can bring a claim against them for nuisance.
Okay.
You see? But like I said, going back to the fence, talk to your neighbor and see what could be done. Because again, that falls into the realm, I would think, of nuisance. And see what some things are just better resolved talking. Rather you got a lawyer who has to draft a claim or go into court and say, this lady plants pushing down my fence.
It's stupid. This is somebody stupid. Some things people go to court for. I mean, silly for us, but clearly in their minds is important for them. Yeah. But let me ask these now to another question, Mark. What then can you take out of court once you start that the judge, in other words, you take somebody to court, let's just say there was a fight and you got injured.
Yes.
Can you drop, what can I drop charges for in this country and what I can't?
You can drop charges for almost anything. You don't really drop charges for murder because the state is bringing that.
Right.
But let's say
rape.
Assault.
What about rape? A woman says this is the man she doesn't want. She can stop. She can.
Yes, she can say, look, I really don't. I don't. Really true. It's not really drop. We use the term drop charges, but I'm not offering any further evidence in this matter. And if there's no further evidence, you can't convict the person, Joyanne. Because what is the court going to go on? Sometimes the bench gets annoyed at it because you might have gone to court 3-4 times. And now you're coming and saying, I remember once there was a very well-known entertainer in this country, a female, and we were in court. Not we, I was just at the bar table. And the magistrate said, and this is quite a few years ago, the magistrate said, she said, oh, I want to drop the charges. And the magistrate said, not today. Not today. Why you want to drop these charges? She said, because I love him. No, he had busted her mouth, bust her lip, all that. And the magistrate said, she uses her mouth to work. Are you mad? But she maintained her position that she loved the man and she wants to offer no further evidence in the matter. So the magistrate said, well, you got to pay court charges for wasting police time, wasting the court's time, and all that. She told the perpetrator, you have to pay court charges as well. And then he looked over at the female and said, babes, you can help me pay these?
Kidding me.
Foolishness.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
You understand? So it was, it would be funny if it wasn't serious.
We got to take a quick break.
Anyway.
I'm going to ask the
course.
producer if we could continue without the break and go right up. But we do have to take a quick break. We come right back and wrap it because I have 2 more questions that just came in for you. We'll be back after the break.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Good.
Okay, we are back. A couple minutes to spare, but hey, we got to get these questions out. So, question is, if you are dating what you thought to be a female, and the person misrepresented the true sex of who they are, can you sue them for misrepresentation? Now, you probably might have had a few dates, probably spent some money, recognize that, you know, first base, second base, all right, you don't know the difference, but, you know, the home run, you recognize this is not who this individual says he or she is. And what can you do? They're asking legally about that. Is there a law?
Joyanne, I don't know that this has been tested in court. I don't know that
Not
there
in
is a law,
Barbados.
to be
Not in
honest with you.
Barbados. Yeah. Mhm.
I've never come across this one because misrepresentation, which we call misrep, is really a part of the law of contract. And when you enter into a relationship, as far as I know, that's not a contract. There may be a marriage contract, but there's no contract in dating someone, to the best of my knowledge. And therefore, if you were to bring an action, what are you going to ground it in? You have to ground an action in something. So in other words, when they say ground an action, if you file a claim against someone, you file a claim in, as we talk about civil nuisance, negligence, passing off, you know, those types of things, breach of contract. But dating someone is not a contract.
All right, well, let me take it. Let me take it a step further. Marriage, you're dating.
Yes.
He is a he and she is a she. So we established that, okay? But you're married,
Right.
but he happens to be gay. He is not into, but you married someone who says, you know, whatever, they love you forever until death do us part. Can he be sued for misrepresenting his sexual preference? Because that is something that happens a lot.
It happens, yes, it happens. And I know that it could be a ground for divorce, but I don't know that is a breach of contract. I don't know that to be a breach of contract. I really don't. I'm not saying you might not get through, but in terms of, it is something that I'm going to research very soon, but I don't know it to have, I know it has arisen within divorce cases, but I do not know that, all the time, I know there are where people have said, you know, you like John on the road more than me, you know, a female might say that, I didn't know all this time, you could have told me so from the beginning, that type of thing. But in terms of suing for breach of contract, I don't know of that, Joyanne, to be honest.
Unless there's a law that says you can sue for cheating once you have been married, and Lord knows we women would want that. If you cheat, you know, I get some money.
Men might want it too. Yeah, some men might want it too, Joyanne.
Some men, it works both ways. If you can actually get money.
You know that.
Go ahead.
You do know that in some states, in the United States, you can sue for loss of affection.
Really?
You know? Oh, absolutely. Yes. You can sue as a husband or a wife for loss of affection. You are giving your affection to other people and the spouse is at home getting none. Yes, absolutely.
You need to tell me where that state is.
I think we can use that here.
We can use it or we can move. But no, we have to stay here. We got to help Barbados. Okay, final question because we got about a minute or less.
Yes. Sure.
The system that we have right now where court cases are not heard to time, the rights of individuals staying in prison for a period of time, that is something that is in law, or that is just subject to how the judge feels with the speed in which the case is coming to trial. In other words, there's no bail, there's no application for bail, but John has been sitting in prison for 5 years and nothing has happened for John. Not even, other than the appearance, come back every 28 days. Can a judge just say, look?
So he's on remand.
Say again?
So we're assuming that the subject is on remand at Dodds Prison.
Right.
On remand, okay.
And over 5 years on remand,
Yes.
and no case, no trial, nothing, no preparation, no anything. Can the judge say to the Department of Prosecutions, you have failed to bring anything to this court over the last 5 years? I am releasing John based on the fact that you have not been able to bring this case to a start. Can that happen? Okay, you didn't hear me? Okay.
The
Let me just
defense
do it.
lawyer would have to make an application to the court saying, look, this. Sorry.
Go ahead. You got
Sorry,
1 minute.
what happened? Joanne, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You got 1 minute.
Are we stuck?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. He can't hear me.
Joanne?
I can't. I can hear you quickly. You have 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
1 minute.
Right. Okay, good. In a case like that, the defense lawyer would have to make an application in court for dismissal because the charge is still there. You have to dismiss the charges. And really and truly, you're not going to bring. What you're really telling me is that the file is late. The file for the prosecution to start is late. The judge may very well say, listen, Mr. Prosecutor, do you have anything to start this case? Because what the defense lawyer may then do is make an application for dismissal of the matter for want of prosecution. And he may succeed.
All right.
No, if it is depending also on the seriousness of the matter. If it's a murder case, well,
No.
that may be treated more seriously. You understand?
Understood. Well, Mark, I want to thank you, Mark Forde, as always, for being a guest here. You know, we got more questions, but we can kind of bring you back again if it's okay with you. Thank you so much. I want to thank our viewers in Barbados and around the world for tuning in. On Friday, the Myasthenia Gravis Awareness Month is upon us. And on Friday, we have Deanne Phillips from the Myasthenia Gravis Association. And of course, it is the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center on Friday. Dwarf trees given away. See you then. God bless.